Hi everyone, and welcome to the Copilot's Art of the Possible session that we're running. My name's Nick DaCosta Green, and I'm a cloud security specialist at Cobweb. And Angela's joining us as our Microsoft Copilot specialist. Ultimately, before we begin, we want to sort of kind of point out that this isn't a sales pitch. Hopefully, it's a practically led conversation about what Microsoft Copilot is, how it works, where it might fit in your organization. We'll hopefully provide you with some good insight and ultimately run through some real world cases to demo some key features and ultimately share some lessons that we've learned. And then we'll finish with a Q&A session that I'll also be hosting. Hopefully we're happy to continue the conversation afterwards. And if you are willing to kind of enter those conversations, tap up your account managers. Hopefully it sounds good. Over to you, Angela.
Thanks so much. Hi, everyone. Thanks again for joining. So let's get started with the Copilot webinar. This is everything that I'm going to go through with you today. So where AI is going, why organizations should be thinking about adopting AI within their workplace. And then I'm going to be talking to you about Microsoft 365 Copilot. So seeing it in action within certain applications. Copilot does integrate with many different applications. I wish I could show you all of them today. However, it's going to be a lot longer than an hour. So hopefully I'm going to give you an idea of what it can do within certain applications. But really eager to obviously answer questions. If you do have any, drop that in the Q&A. Customize your Copilot. I would say that's my favorite part about talking about around Copilot in order to get that personalized touch. So I'm really excited to talk about agents with you once we get through the demos. And then we'll open it up to some questions and answers. So let's get started as to where technology is going overall. So this slide is just to show you it took 2 months just to reach 100 million users for ChatGPT. And as you can see in this little timeline, it's taking less and less time to adopt technology. Just to put into perspective, it took 16 years to reach 100 million users for mobile phones, 7 years for the internet, and now 2 months for ChatGPT. Don't worry, this is still around Copilot. I just want to show you around generative AI overall. So it's taking less and less time, and we don't want organizations to be left behind, shall I say, maybe in a couple of years' time when a majority of organizations and your competitors might have adopted some element of AI and that's improving their operational efficiencies. And then you feel like then you have to adopt it, but then it's advanced a lot more later down the line. Just again, to put into perspective, Copilot has been established for 2 years now, and there was 300 updates alone last year. It's 2 times faster. The qualities are a lot more better. So this is what I mean about not being left behind, because although 2 weeks ago, I said Copilot didn't do something in Excel, whereas today I can say it does do it. So even Copilot is keeping me on my toes in terms of keeping everybody up to date with its new capabilities. So again, hopefully today you're going to get an idea of where it is today and then how it can work within your day-to-day roles. I highly, highly recommend you have a look at the Work Trend Index. This is basically a report that Microsoft runs every year. They run like surveys to organizations just like yourselves to understand your take on AI. So they surveyed 31,000 people across 31 countries. And I'll tell you a couple of insights on what they found during the survey. So first of all, they found there's a 3-phase approach when it comes to adopting Copilot. So first of all, adopting Copilot, so it's assisting you with your emails, assisting you with document summaries, etc. The second one would be delegating tasks to it. So this is actually asking it to update a certain master spreadsheet, for example. And this is where agents come in, which is the customized piece. So it's not doing anything in the background just yet. You're still delegating tasks, but it's being a little bit more specific to your job role. And then phase 3 is when you have agents doing things in the background, helping you with your business processes whilst you're doing something else that you need to prioritize. So this is called autonomous agents. So that's phase 3. I know I've said agents quite a few times since we've just started, and I promise you it's going to make a lot more sense once I get into that customized piece. But this is how Microsoft is seeing it through the survey in terms of adopting AI. Employees are interrupted every 2 minutes. I'm sure I'm not alone when I say I get pinged a lot on my Teams chats around queries, constantly getting emails, following up from Teams meetings, etc. I mean, I put myself on Do Not Disturb today so I don't get interrupted. And I'm sure, as I said, I'm not alone when I say that. And this is where Copilot is going to give you time back in order for you to focus on your skill set, your priorities, and Copilot will get rid of those mundane tasks that you don't really want to do, but you have to do. Also, the survey found that 75% of people are already using AI at work, and 80% of them bring their own AI tool to work with or without the organization's permission. I am talking about something like ChatGPT, the free version, any free consumer solution that's AI. Maybe I'm talking about Copilot, just any AI tool. And I am going to highlight the difference between something like ChatGPT that you can get over the web and something like Copilot. What is the difference? But I'm just putting into perspective that most likely people within your organization are using AI already. So to adopt something like AI wouldn't be as daunting because they're already using generative AI already. But hopefully, Copilot, so it doesn't pose risk to the business. I will be talking about the security aspects in a couple of minutes. I mean, it is a little bit early to see a pizza on screen, or maybe it's not. I'm not going to judge. Now, during the survey, they also found that 77% of people would choose Copilot over a free lunch. I did say Copilot has been established for 2 years now. And at the beginning, it was rolled out to many organizations and they were asked, would you rather keep your Copilot license or would you rather give it back and have a free lunch once a week from the organization for the rest of the year? And 77%, so almost 80%, said that they'd rather keep their license. So it shows their productivity levels when it was first launched. So I'm sure this number is a lot more higher now, but hopefully this gives you into perspective the value of Copilot. Right. Let's get into Copilot. So I'm going to be talking about Microsoft 365 Copilot to you with you today. And just before I do this, I do want you to think about, where do you see improvements in the business? Would it be to improve the quality of people's work, maybe get rid of that human error that's in HR or finance? Would it be to speed up certain processes in the business? Or maybe it's to give time back to employees to retain them, give them a better employee experience. It could be a little bit of everything that I've mentioned. And it's going to make a lot more sense when you try and figure out where you see improvements in the business and how is Copilot going to support these areas as opposed to the other way around. Okay, right, so we're here now. So Microsoft 365 Copilot is your AI assistant, surprise, surprise, that is integrated within your Microsoft applications that you use on a daily basis. So when you open up your Outlook to send emails or check through your inbox, Copilot is right there within your application. So Outlook, Teams, PowerPoint, Excel, and a lot more. So within those Office applications to help you with your productivity. Now, let me break it down. Although this doesn't look like I will, I promise you I'm going to try and explain how does Copilot actually work. So if you focus on the top left-hand side, we open up a certain application. Let's say we open up your Word. When you open up your Word, you have like a ribbon of features like font, bullet points, format, etc. You also have your Copilot button. Click onto it and you ask Copilot a question. Let's say, draft me a business proposal based on Project X. So I'm prompting Copilot. Now that prompt is then sent to the Microsoft Graph, which is on the bottom left-hand side. And the Microsoft Graph is unique to each and every one of us in the business. It's basically where all of your files and documents are stored. So anything that you have access to in SharePoint, OneDrive, your Teams messages, your emails, Copilot has access to them. So Copilot has access to anything you have access to. Let's say, for example, everybody in the organization had Copilot. It doesn't mean now they have Copilot, they all have access to financial data. because it respects your permission boundaries. It doesn't go beyond that. So if they didn't have access to it before, it doesn't mean once they have Copilot, they will have access to it. So it stops at your permission level. So once Copilot picks up the documents, the PDFs, the emails that is relevant to the prompt that you've just asked it, it's then sent to the large language model, which is on the right-hand side. Now, the large language model goes beyond something like a keyword search. You know, when you use a search engine and you ask a question, that's called a keyword search. It's just going to give you a data dump based on the words that you've asked it. Now, the large language model tries to figure out what are you asking it, so the prompt, and what's your intention behind it, asking that question. So my example was draft me a business proposal based on project X. The LLM, which is the large language model, is going to try and understand who have I been collaborating with around that project? Are there similar projects in the past that's similar to project X that it can bring to its response? So going back to my application, Copilot is going to give me a response in its natural words, so a summary basically, and then citate everything that it's found. So you can always sense check your work. So hopefully you're still with me, and that's how it works. They all work together. The apps, the graph, the large language model all work together. Let me go back to ChatGPT. Anybody that uses ChatGPT, the free version, anything that they input into ChatGPT, so when you're asking questions, when you're inputting data, etc., you're pretty much training the model every time you utilize it. So it's being saved into public data. So if you accidentally inputted, I don't know, financial data that was classified to the business, eventually we will be able to, you're training the model, so we'll be able to eventually have eyes on it as well. Whereas Microsoft 365 Copilot, you can confidently do that because it's been created for business purposes. So you can confidently ask it questions around financial data, client information, things that you deem as highly sensitive within the organization, and it's not trained on your prompts, your data, and it stays within your organization. So it has that corporate protection. Okay, so that's really the main difference between something like ChatGPT and Copilot. Okay, so your data is safe with Copilot, basically. And also it's integrated, so it's right by your side if you do need it. Okay, so hopefully that all makes a little bit of sense as to how it actually works. Now, let's see in action. So I've pre-recorded all of this in real time just to show you how quickly Copilot responds back, etc. And I'll tell you what's going on before I play my video. So Alex and Megan have both been discussing opening up a new store in London, and they've been talking about tasks, ownerships, budgets, etc. And we've all been there when we've been looped in a chain of emails on a Friday afternoon. And it's great, you know, scrolling through 25 emails to try and figure out why you've been CC'd in this. And there is something called Summary by Copilot. And you can click onto that, and it will basically summarize that chain of emails for you. So you no longer have to sift through all of them. Now, it doesn't just work with a chain of emails, it works with any email. So if you've come back from annual leave and you have to sift through different marketing emails, etc., just click on summary and you get an idea of what it is before you move on to the next one or you have to reply back, etc. In this case, Megan is going to reply back, and there are two options. There's draft and there's coaching. I'll show you draft first. So we're going to ask Copilot to draft us an email to accept Megan's tasks in the inventory. She's not mentioning what the tasks are, but she doesn't need to. Because she's clicked reply, Copilot understands that it needs to go back to the linked emails in order to understand what are these tasks that Megan needs to do. So she can be vague. That's fine. Now you can change the tone to neutral, formal, change the length of it to long, short, medium. I mean, I'm not sure why you'd want to choose to have a long email as an option, but you know, each to their own. Now we're going to generate the email and let's see what it comes up with. And there we go. We got our drafted email. It says, "Hi, Alex. This is what I'm going to be taking ownership for." So it's bullet pointed the tasks. So Alex is fully aware what he doesn't need to do. You can regenerate it if you want a different response. You could tweak it. You could say, make it longer, make it shorter. I'm tweaking it quite a lot. If anybody caught that, I've typed in, make it into a poem. I've never sent a poem on email ever. However, for the demo purposes, I am doing that just because hopefully this is going to keep it lighthearted and, you know, you're all with me with with this webinar as well. So there we go. We got a full poem out of it. Now, what if you wanted to write your own email? What can Copilot do? I'm going to show you coaching. So I'm writing my own email. And I've had a meeting with Emma. I'm just following up with her saying it was a great meeting. Let's talk about setting up a webinar. Are you free on Friday? And I'm going to click on to coaching. Coaching looks at how are you responding back to a recipient. What is your writing style? So it looks at the tone, the clarity, and the sentiment of your email. So let's see what it comes up with my email. So under tone, it says maintain positive enthusiasm. Instead of saying perhaps we can schedule, change it to I would love to schedule. Instead of saying maybe we can do Friday, say I am available on Friday. And then under sentiment, encourage engagement. So I said, obviously, I was talking about webinars, is saying encourage questions to gain some more insights about that webinar. And then under clarity, I mentioned I'm free on Friday. I didn't mention what time or anything like that. And Copilot is saying, be a little bit more specific, Angela. So that's my feedback on my email. You can click on apply all suggestions, and Copilot will create you another email with those suggestions. So you can keep it, like you can replace your original email, or you can click on insert below and it would insert that email below your original one. You can just tweak your original one. So you could do it either way. You can ask Copilot to draft you an email, or you can ask Copilot to analyze the email that you're about to send to see if you've got any spelling mistakes or if you can change the tone, etc. As I said, I won't be able to show you everything today with every application. So hopefully this is giving you an idea of what you can do within certain applications. It doesn't stop there, although my demos in Outlook has stopped and I'm going to move on to the next application. You could do so much more. One of my favorite ones would be to organize my unread emails. I'm on the go a lot. I attend a lot of events. I'm not just usually just sat at my desk. So getting through my unread emails can be a lot of work. So now I ask Copilot to summarize my unread emails, but prompting is really, really important. I don't just say summarize my emails. I say, Copilot, can you summarize my emails, please, and categorize them against certain things. So for me, it would be webinar requests, workshops, any queries, any certain complaints, and then Copilot will start to categorize them. So it's a little bit more easier to digest. And then any like time sensitive messages that I need to address ASAP. So that's how Copilot helps me organize my inbox. So yeah, if you have access to your inbox and your calendar, Copilot has access to that as well. So you can ask it whatever questions you want around those areas. Right, so let's move on to Word. So I've got a document all around Copilot. I've got 2 staff members that are starting, and what I want to do is educate them around Copilot. So I've created a document all around Copilot, what it does, what it's integrated within, some use cases, etc. And I just want to show you different ways to access Copilot within Word. So I can highlight an area of the page. In this case, I'm highlighting the applications, Word, Excel, PowerPoint. And let's say, you know, it is a lengthy document, and maybe I just don't want my staff members to read paragraph after paragraph. So I just want to change it a little bit. So I'm going to click onto the Copilot button, and I could rewrite. It could say make it shorter, but instead I'm going to click on visualize as a table. So when I do that, Copilot is going to change my paragraphs into a table format. So it's a little bit easier on the eye as well, and I can tweak it. So I'm just going to type in, can you use British English language? I'm not deleting it and starting again or anything like that. So if you're not entirely happy with what Copilot has provided you, you don't have to start from scratch. You could just ask Copilot to change it for you. So British English language. So I'm happy with that. If you're happy with it, just click on keep. And then I'm going to show you another area of how you can utilize Copilot in Word. So you don't have to highlight things all the time. Let's say you are doing a lengthy document writing and you've got maybe a writer's blocker. Maybe you have to finish off a document and you've just come back from annual leave and you're not really sure what else to do. You can click onto Copilot. You could say, can you conclude, etc. You can attach another document, or you can click on Inspire Me. Inspire Me is basically what it says in the words. So if you have got a writer's blocker, Copilot is basically going to give you that inspiration that you might need in order to carry on that writing flow. So it's not going to make anything up. It's going to look at what's already existing within your document and then give you a helping hand on what else to include. So obviously you can adjust it, you can regenerate if you want a different response, etc. So Inspire Me, I would say, is quite a popular feature. Now, you're going to see a trend in my demos. Copilot is usually on the top right-hand side, and it opens up a side panel. You'll have suggested prompts to get you started. You can speak to Copilot if you want to, so it could be speech to text. Or you can click on this little globe, which basically you can toggle on web browsing. So if you want to compare your document to something over the web, then keep that toggled on. Otherwise, toggle it off. Now, what I'm going to ask Copilot is I'm going to say, can you create me a frequently asked questions page? Please ignore my spelling error. Copilot doesn't mind. And I'm also going to say, please do not include any citations. The reason I'm saying that is when Copilot creates me the frequently asked questions page, I don't want those little numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4 against the bullet points, because it will show you where it's got its information from on the document. If you were happy with it, then just don't include citations. And there you go. We've got our questions and answers about, what it's integrated within, some case studies, etc. Obviously, you can ask Copilot to make it shorter, add more questions, etc. But once you are happy with it, you can just copy and paste that straight into your document. And that probably would have saved you maybe 20 minutes creating your own. So there we go. We got off FAQ page. Now, the next thing what I'm going to do, I'm just going to fast forward a little bit, is I'm clicking on the microphone. Although audio is off, don't worry, you're not missing out. I'm talking to Copilot, so it's still my voice. So I'm just talking to Copilot and I'm just saying, hi, Copilot, can you transform this document into an email and summarize it in 10 bullet points? Also, if these staff members have any questions, if they can drop it in our next weekly sync on Friday. So as I said, if you prefer to articulate your words through speech, you can do that. It's really good if you're on the go as well, because Copilot works on mobile phones as well. So after me speaking to Copilot, Copilot will generate me an email, transforming this document into an email. So this is what I mean about getting rid of those mundane tasks and get Copilot to do that with your instructions. So that's Word. You can attach up to 10 different documents with your existing document. If you want to compare like a business proposal to previous proposals, for example, then you can do that as well. So that's Word. The next thing that I want to show you is PowerPoint. So I would say PowerPoint is useful for different types of users. Somebody that utilizes, PowerPoint quite often, and somebody that doesn't, they feel like it's time consuming. Maybe they're not creative enough, etc. And I'll show you why I feel like Copilot will suit both those types of users. So I'm going to click onto Copilot. And I'm actually going to click on a suggested prompt, which is create a presentation from file. So I'm going to paste the file path of a Word document that I've been working on, which was a marketing plan, which was about 2,000 to 3,000 words long. So we're basically transforming a Word document into a PowerPoint slide with one prompt. You don't always have to paste the file path, by the way. You could just do / and it will show you your recently saved documents, and you can, if you know the name of it, you can start typing it in. So in a second, on the right-hand side, you're going to see Copilot is going to start to structure how is it going to create this marketing plan. So you don't have to. I used to start from scratch all the time. I used to put everything on Word and then move on to PowerPoint. And I no longer have to start from scratch now because Copilot is giving me that framework that I really needed, and it's starting to generate those slides. It's even going to add speaker notes to your PowerPoint slides, so you can confidently deliver them over Teams with your speaker notes as well. So in a second, we will see Copilot generate the slides, and it even works with company branded templates. So if you've got your own color schemes and your brand and your branded guidelines, etc., it respects that. You just need to open up your company branded templates first and then ask Copilot to generate you slides. So as you can see, we have a full slide deck right now. You can, if you don't have company branded templates, then just use Designer and you can change the feel of the background. Obviously the first one was quite blank, so I'm just changing it into a moving background as it's marketing and make it a little bit more engaging. Now, when you open up Copilot again, we have a deck. So we have the suggested prompts might change a little bit. So I've clicked on organize this presentation. And what that means is Copilot is going to start to add dividers between your your slides when the topic changes, so you don't have to do that manual work yourself. And Copilot will show you where it's made its edits and what it's named it as. So if you were not happy with it and you just want to tweak it, then you'll know exactly where what's happened. And as you can see, we've got a couple of dividers. One was around a marketing plan, and on the right-hand side, it will tell you what it's named it and where it's added it. So this video is going to carry on. We're going to scroll all the way down, and we're going to ask Copilot, can you create me one more slide just to say thank you to the audience, etc. So just a thank you slide. And you can actually see in this demo at the bottom, the speaker notes. And if I expanded on it, you would be able to see where it's got its information from, so the copy and paste text from the document, and then how it's changed it into speaker notes. So you don't always have to like guess, like, where did these speaker notes come from? Copilot will tell you where. Right, so once this last slide is generated, we're going to get 25 slides. 25 slides, and this demo video is only 4 minutes long. So we're going to get 25 slides in 4 minutes. That's professional looking. That's all relevant content from one Word document. It's ready to go because it's got visual representations. I didn't even mention the pictures. The pictures, all those images are AI generated or from stock images. So you can use them for business purposes. There's no copyright issues whatsoever. If you are not happy with a certain image, you could just go back to Copilot and say, Copilot, can you change this microphone image to something else? Maybe a dog wearing a yellow hat. You could be as descriptive as you want, and it will create that image for you. So yeah, no copyright issues there. So yeah, really good for marketing and really good to start creating slide decks a lot more quickly than you used to before. So you don't have to start from scratch. So that's PowerPoint. The next thing that I want to show you is Teams. I would say Teams is probably the most popular application to use with Copilot when it comes to minute taking, etc. Now, Copilot works on transcription. So when you have a meeting, just turn transcription on. Copilot will be working in the background. I have recording and transcription on, so we're catching up on a meeting. And all those colors at the bottom just shows you who spoke when during the meeting. You can click onto Copilot and we can catch up. Usually, when a meeting ends, you have like a summary of what was discussed. If you just wanted to dig a little bit deeper, you can have that conversation with Copilot and basically interrogate Copilot. So that's what I'm doing. Rather than catching up with a colleague or watching an hour-long recording, I'm just asking Copilot what decisions were made during this meeting. And Copilot is going to come back and say that they decided to delay their launch date for this project. And all those little citations, you can hover over and it will tell you who said what, just to verify where has Copilot come up with this conclusion. Now I'm going to dig a little bit deeper. I'm going to ask Copilot, did they reach a group consensus? Did they all agree to delay this launch date? Now, bear in mind, my demo, I'm showing you all of this when a meeting has ended. You can have Copilot live during a meeting as well. So when you are on a Teams meeting and you have transcription on, you could just open up Copilot and ask questions live. And I'll come back to that in a second. So yeah, Copilot has come back to say they decided to delay their launch date by 2 weeks. And I mean, you're going to be sick of me by the end of this because I'm going to keep saying prompting is really important. How you instruct Copilot is really important to get the best response. So I said, can you give me the pros and cons for delaying this launch date and put it into a table? If I did not mention how I want it laid out, how I want the format to be, then Copilot might give it to me in a chunky paragraph, etc. But I was very specific and I said a table, and that's what I got. Same thing applies to action items. 9 times out of 10, we have follow-ups, and I want to know what the follow-ups are. So I'm asking Copilot, can you provide me the action items and again, put it into a table? This is so good for task management. There's no excuse to forget after a Teams meeting now with Copilot on, because as you can see, we have the action items and who needs to do what against the action items as well. So that's Teams. Obviously, as I said, it can do a lot more than what I'm just demonstrating today, but these are like the main features. One of my favorite features within Teams would be if you cannot attend a meeting because you're on leave or you're on the go, or a meeting clashes with another one, you will have accept, decline, and follow. So rather than declining the meeting, you can click on to follow. And what that means is whoever is attending the meeting, they will get a pop-up when they join the meeting, and it would say, Angela can't attend this meeting. Can you please turn on transcription for her? And somebody would have to turn on transcription for you, and then Copilot will note take on your behalf. Nobody will be able to see your note taking, and it would be added back into your calendar when you want to catch up in your own time. So you never have to miss a meeting. Going back to live meetings, although I don't have a demo on this, I'll just quickly mention what I mean by that. So why would you want to have Copilot on a live meeting? The reason for that is maybe you've joined a meeting 10 minutes late and somebody had transcription on from the beginning. You can open up Copilot and you could say, Copilot, can you catch me up since I've joined late? What has been discussed? Has my name been mentioned? Has there been anything shared? Maybe a PowerPoint slide has been shared and you missed that. Copilot will be able to bring that back to you saying this is what's been shared. So you have like your AI colleague live on a Teams meeting as well, and nobody will be able to see that communication between you and Copilot. Okay, so that's Teams. The next thing, maybe you may have heard of Loop, or you might not have. So this could be an educational piece as well. So Loop is all around project planning. So if you're brainstorming with a group of people, this is really good. You can create Kanban boards on here as well. It's really good to delegate tasks and just collaborate with a group of people, so you can create different types of pages depending on what you're working on, and Copilot integrates within it. So I'm gonna show you my demo. I've got a sweet tooth, so I've created a demo around a charity cake sale, and I'm asking Copilot, can you create me a Teams channel announcement and let everyone know in the organization that we're running another charity cake sale. Keep it short and keep it sweet. And there we go, we got our announcement. Now, if you were sharing this page with your colleague and they had Copilot as well, then you will be able to see each other's prompts if you are editing this page together using Copilot. So your prompts do stay with you and are not shared, but if you're editing a page together using Copilot, then yes, you will be able to see their prompt, to see what changes were made. I just said add some funny cake jokes just to keep it lighthearted. Now, I don't want a repeat from last year. Last year, maybe 10, 11 people created the same chocolate cake and it didn't sell out. So let me address this with Copilot. So I'm going to ask Copilot, can you create me a table so people can start to populate what they're going to bring in, so we don't repeat the same sweet treats. Now you can see I'm typing in my prompt and my prompt seems okay. But I just want to show you the demos that I demonstrated just now gave me a response that I wanted you to see. However, Copilot isn't always going to get it right the first time. And it's not a matter of feeling disheartened and not using it again. It's a matter of redirecting Copilot or bettering your prompts. Okay, and I'll show you what I mean. So I've got a table, but this is not what I wanted. I didn't want the names populated on there. I didn't want the sweet treats. So I'm actually not going to delete anything. I'm just going to go back to Copilot. And I'm just going to say, I didn't want this table pre-populated. And also, can you add some instructions? Maybe some people might not know what special ingredients, what they're supposed to add on there. So add some instructions at the bottom. And there we go. Copilot has wiped the table clean, and at the bottom we've got instructions. There is something called a loop component. So if you wanted to share an area of the page, not the entire page, with somebody, you can do that. So I'm just sharing the table and the instructions, and that's called a loop component. And then you get a copied link and you can paste that link into an email, into a Teams chat, into a Word document, all of those locations if you want to, and people can populate their answers in those locations and it would synchronize back into your loop. You don't have to keep updating the system saying, oh, somebody just said they're going to make donuts, I have to update my loop page now, because it will do it itself and you could just leave it alone. It's really good for chasing up people where they are with certain things on a project, etc. So Loop is very, very much of a modernized version of OneNote, I would say, if anybody knows what OneNote is, note-taking, etc. Right, the last demo that I'm going to show you is Excel. So I would say Excel is useful for basic to moderate users all the way to advanced users. Excel has advanced quite a lot within the last 2 weeks. So I'll play my video and I'll show you what's going on. So as I said, I've got a sweet tooth, so I've created a demo around bakery goods. So we've got bakery goods, how much we've sold in November and December. We've got the expenses, how much they cost, the profit, etc. Now, Copilot works best if it's in a table format. So all those colors that you can see, you don't have to use those colors, but if you don't have it in a table format, Copilot might start to miss certain cells out. So it's better to put it into a table format, which is at the top there. It's very, very simple. And then you can open up Copilot on the top right-hand side. It will give you suggested prompts specific to Excel, which I'm actually going to click on. I'm going to click on Create Formulas. And what that does is Copilot is going to suggest another formula, another column to add onto my table. In this case, it's telling me about revenue growth. So the difference between November and December. It gives me the formula. If you want to learn, you can. I don't want to learn the formula. So if you don't want to learn the formula, then you can just have a look at the little example window at the bottom. And if you are happy with it, you can just click on Insert Column. So Copilot is doing all the heavy lifting for you. Even if you are Excel savvy and you know how to do all of this already, it can speed up the process so you can get there a lot more quickly, so you can gain those insights faster. Same thing, I'm actually going to get inspiration from Copilot. So I've actually asked Copilot to create me another column for revenue growth, but I want it in pounds because Copilot is giving it to me, has given it to me in percentages, which is good, but I just want to know exactly how much they've increased or decreased by. So there we go. So as you can see, the way I'm communicating with Copilot is very natural language. I'm not using any kind of like jargon or anything like that. I'm not saying do a VLOOKUP like those Excel words. I'm just talking to Copilot just very naturally. And as you can see, I've created that column right there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Copilot to highlight some cells. So anybody that knows what conditional formatting is, that's basically what I'm doing. I'm getting Copilot to highlight certain cells for me. So in this case, I want to see profit that is less than £1,000, or those bakery goods. So again, the formula is there. Copilot has picked up that I wanted it in red. If you are happy with it, then you can click apply. And there we go. Copilot has highlighted those bakery goods that are not doing very well in the profit side. Same thing applies for profit over £3,500. So I just want to know, I just want Copilot to highlight it in green now. And there we go. I'm not fast forwarded any of this video or anything like that. So this is just how quickly Copilot is responding back. And there we go. So luckily, there's a lot more bakery goods that are doing well in profit as opposed to not. So it's looking a little bit better to interpret what this table is showing with the conditional formatting. So next thing I want to ask Copilot is, can you provide me some icons against this column, against column I? And I want to see some arrows against them. You know, which ones are not doing well, which ones are doing well against the profit percentage. And there we go. Immediately, I click apply and Copilot has added them on. I said I wanted it in like a traffic cone kind of colors, so green, red, and orange. There we go. So next thing I want to do is I want to go back to my revenue growth. And the reason for that is my last column, I don't want to change anything. I don't want to confuse Copilot, but I just want to understand what isn't doing very well, what is decreasing in December as it was in November. So I want to ask Copilot to create me another column and just mention red, amber, green for those that are in the minus figures or between £0 and £1,000 or above £1,000, and again in red, amber, green. Again, when you're happy with it, click. Now at this rate, it's looking good, but it looks like I'm just making my table larger and larger. So if I share this with a colleague, they'll probably look at this and may again feel a little bit overwhelmed. What are they looking at? So just to make it a little bit more simple, I'm just going to color code it. So I'm just going to ask Copilot fill the cells with colors. It can see my history of prompts because I've not refreshed it. I've not opened up a new chat, so I can be a little bit vague, and I just said fill it with colors. So Copilot understands what colors I want, and click apply, and there we go. So you can see a little bit more clearly those that are in red are in the minus figures, that aren't doing well in revenue growth. Those that are in green are doing particularly good. Now, the last thing that I want to show you is I'm going to ask Copilot, can you show me some data insights? This is really key in order for you to get visual representations of your table. So Copilot will suggest one thing first of all. You could be very specific. You could say, can you create me a graph against column H and etc. But in this case, I just want Copilot suggestions. So it's giving me a suggestion around revenue growth. So there's a lot that hasn't moved between November and December. So it's sitting in the amber. You can add it to a new sheet if you want to. It gives you a bit of a blurb of what's going on. Or you can click on add all insights to grid. This is really cool. So it adds another sheet with all the visual representations that you might need to analyze this table. You can edit them. They're not static graphs, so you can edit them if you wish. And it even adds pivot tables as well. I never knew how to create a pivot table before I had Copilot. So thank you, Copilot. And again, you can edit that, or you can just filter through what bakery goods you want to have a look at. So that's Excel. As I said, it works with more advanced users. So if anybody that's on this webinar today that are more advanced, you could say, create me a dashboard using Python coding. You don't need to know how to do Python coding. Copilot will show you how it's doing its workings out, and it will create you almost like a report, not just with visual representation, but obviously a written report as well. That might take an extra minute or two for it to come back, but it does do deeper analysis if you do need it. It's just a matter of what you're asking it to do. So that's Excel. Hopefully you've enjoyed those demos. So now customize. I did say this is like one of my favorite parts to talk about because this makes it a little bit more personal to you. So I want to talk about Copilot agents. I'm still talking about the same license, which is Copilot. This is included within the license. And this is a way to make it more personal to you. So what I mean by that, I'll give you an example. So a HR department, they're probably referring to, I don't know, policy documents that are hundreds of pages long, maybe a private SharePoint site just for HR, and maybe a CSV file with contract references. I don't know if I'm on the right lines. If anybody's on the HR, maybe you can correct me. Now we can create an agent, which is essentially a Copilot, your own Copilot. And you can name it whatever you like. You can name it HR Advisor. Direct it to what I just mentioned, the policy booklets, the SharePoint site, etc. So when you're communicating with HR Advisor about Project X, it's not going into your emails back in 2019 just because you mentioned Project X. It's only going to the resources that you've plugged in. So it kind of gets rid of the noise and it only focuses on that specific requirement. And you can create different agents for different things, one for HR, one for helping you with your writing, one for business proposals, emails, etc. And you can share them with your colleagues as well. So only one person will need to create the agent, and it could be shared amongst the organization as long as they have Copilot as well. So I will give you an example. This is again just to keep it lighthearted. So I created one for my team, and it's called Friday Feeling. So this agent can be published into your teams, so you can always refer back to it. So mine, when I created it, it's very conversational. When you create it, you can say, Copilot, I want you to create me an agent to help me with jokes, like provide jokes back to my team, and these are the people in my team, these are some funny quirks about them. So just giving a bit of instructions when you're building your agent. And I'll give you an example. So I've published my agent. It's called Friday Feeling. You can pin it against your teams. I've added some suggested prompts of my own, so some for my team to understand, like how to start to communicate with this agent. And I'm just saying, hi Copilot, can you tell me about my manager? Tell me a joke about my manager. And I don't have to tell Copilot who my manager is because I've already mentioned that when I was creating it. So I can be vague. And I mean, this is going to go over your heads a little bit because you don't know my manager, but my manager's called Anthony, and there's been many times people spell his name wrong. They spell it ant honey, so there's just a running joke about that. So this is just to keep it lighthearted. Obviously, you can make it a lot more advanced. I would say, when you are comfortable with Copilot, the main thing that you probably would want to start doing is the autonomous piece, which would be, for example, this is one example would be, if you're constantly getting frequently asked questions coming through your emails and you want Copilot to respond back on your behalf. You can get Copilot to do that, saying, Copilot, if these kind of questions come in, I want you to respond back. And it won't say it's from Copilot, it will say it's from you. And that's doing things in the background without you always having to action it off. And that's just one example of autonomous agents. So Copilot doing things automatically. Okay, so that's agents. Hopefully, I know there's a lot that we're going through, but hopefully you are still with me. Right, so the next thing I want to talk about is security. So as I mentioned, anything that you have access to, Copilot also have access to as well. So it's really, really important that people in the organization only have access to certain areas of the business that they should, and not more. Because obviously when you have Copilot, we don't want somebody to say, tell me my manager's salary, for example, and they didn't know they had access to it, but then Copilot has given it to them because they did have access to it. So just making sure permission levels are teed up before Copilot is implemented. And this is a prerequisite anyway. This is something that would be done before the license is provided to you. So making sure there's no oversharing. SharePoint sites are locked down just for organization use and not being externally shared, etc. So having said what I just said, Copilot sits on something called responsible AI. So if somebody did actually end up saying, can you tell me my manager's salary? Copilot will actually end up saying, you shouldn't be asking me this question. Let's change the topic. It has certain filters so people don't abuse Copilot. They don't ask anything unethical, illegal, and inappropriate. So it will, and even if you have like a SharePoint site on finance and somebody didn't have access to it, Copilot won't say, you don't have access to this. It's just going to say, I don't know what you're saying. I don't know what you mean. Can you rephrase what you're asking? It's not going to try and give somebody like a loophole saying, oh, this does exist. So yeah, Copilot doesn't respects your permission levels, and it also has that responsible AI principle on it as well. It also sits on the same security, compliance, and privacy principles that your current account sits on. So like when it comes to emails, etc. So it follows GDPR principles and all those regulations that you currently have within your Microsoft stack. Right. There is a 15% promotion that is only running until the end of the month, so not very long. If you purchase at least 10 Copilot licenses, then you are eligible 15% off your licenses for the year. So let's say, for example, you purchase 10 and then the following month the promotion ended and you wanted another 10, you're still eligible for 15% off for the year. So you can purchase it with that promotion after, as long as you lock it in before the 30th of June, sorry. Right, I think we've got a couple of minutes for Q&A.
Thank you for that, Angela. It's an excellent overview. In terms of Q&A, at the top of the screen, you should be able to see a Q&A button. So feel free to ask any questions.
Whilst the questions are coming through, I might as well explain the way that I use Copilot on my day-to-days. As I said, I am on the go a lot. So a lot of the times I have a lot of things that I need to do that's in my head that I kind of just need to put it down on paper. But rather than put it down on paper, I literally book in my own meeting and I transcribe it. I don't turn the camera on, but I do transcribe it, and I'm just talking to Copilot on a Teams meeting. And I basically talk for about 4 to 5 minutes about the things that I need to do within the next week and how I need to prioritize it. So Copilot will start to obviously transcribe that, and then after the meeting it will give me my action items and how I need to do it. So it gives me like tasks rather than me keeping it in my head. I kind of just give Copilot a data dump on a Teams meeting on my own. So if anybody's like me and does work in that way, then that's like a helpful tip if you're looking to adopt Copilot.
Thank you. We've got a couple of questions. So thanks, Peter. Peter has asked, sorry, notifications popped up in front of the question. What is the current level of adoption of Copilot for 365 in the UK, and at what rate is this changing? And do you know if there are any specific use cases that are top of the chart, so to speak?
Yeah, I don't know the exact rate. I'll have to get that through Microsoft stats, I guess. However, having said that, I do know last year we only seen organizations adopt it like on a high level, maybe 1 or 2 people to test it out. Whereas now, this year, we see people like, especially law firms and finance, they're adopting it either throughout the whole organization or they're doing at least 15 licenses, and they almost are creating like a change management approach where they're going to build a business use case within the next 6 to however many weeks. And then once they build their business use case, then they're going to roll it out to the rest of the organization. But as I said, with industry type, it would be the most popular ones that I can see would be hiring. So not just recruitment, because people hire internally as well. So around the HR, so HR departments, and then industries would be legal, finance. Legal and finance would be the 2 big ones, I would say, and then recruitment, but that can go with hiring as well for HR.
Amazing, thank you. I just thought I'd mention quickly also that there's a poll / survey open. That'd be really helpful if attendees could complete that. There is another question from Paul. How does Copilot work with multiple tenants?
It only respects the user, so it doesn't. So if you have a Copilot, it will only respect the user's account. So it still only has access to what the user has access to within that tenant, not the other tenant.
Or if there's a follow-up question off the back of that, it would be useful if you could contact your account manager. I'm sure they'll be able to help you out. How does Copilot work on a Mac?
Yeah, it's fine. It works on Mac and Windows. There's no difference.
Okay, and just my own question, does that cover off Android and iOS as well? Perfect. Pete's asked, is the 15% on top of pre-existing negotiated prices? I assume he means existing subscriptions.
Okay, so if you, let's say, for example, you've got 1 or 2 Copilot licenses right now, you would have to purchase another 10 in order to be eligible for that 15% rather than 8 to add it up to 10. So it would just be, you have to just purchase 10 in one go, regardless if you have got existing Copilot licenses or not.
So that would clarify that's an overlapping term essentially.
Yeah.
Okay. Gary has asked, does Copilot work with the following applications? And he's listed Visio and Project or MS Project.
They're different licenses. So there's Project Plan 3 and 5, and you will have Copilot to help you with Planner, but you won't have Copilot to help you with all the other things that I showed you in my demo. You would need Microsoft 365 Copilot. Visio is a different one as well. So there are different licenses based on different requirements. The one that I showed you today is just for the Microsoft applications, like the popular ones that I've demoed. But when it comes to Power BI, Visio, etc., or Power Automate, they're separate licenses for that.
Thank you. Caroline has asked, we share some SharePoint folders with our clients. Would this impact how Copilot is used and its security?
I'm not really sure what you mean by that. So you share.
Maybe we do another clarification session. Maybe does Copilot essentially access the the data in the other client's tenant, perhaps?
No. No, it won't. It will only access things that you have access to. So within your SharePoint sites, just within your tenant, it doesn't have access to your client's data or anything like that. If you wanted to like drill it down and stop sharing, then obviously that's something that we can do in terms of locking down external sharing, which means even if you shared a document previously, if it was locked down now, they won't have access to it anymore. So if there's two different answers to that.
Okay. Caroline, if you'd like further clarification on that, maybe we could have another session dedicated for you. Richard has asked, what is the responsible AI framework? And can I make our Copilot respond sarcastically unless the user prompts politely?
Technically, yes, you can. So you can use agents for that. Obviously, you would never be able to get Copilot to say, if you said, Copilot, can you provide me a very poor feedback for one of my ex-employees? It won't do that. It won't be biased in that way. However, if you're doing it in like a funny way for agents, like my jokes agent, then yes, you will be able to instruct Copilot to answer it in a certain way, depending on how somebody asks a question.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Are there any more questions? Maybe I've missed one. I think that's it. So on that basis, I guess I'd like to thank everybody for attending. Thank you, Angela, for your insights. It's been brilliant and really helpful. Oh, sorry, there is another sneaking question. Simon's asked, any visibility on when or if Copilot deep reasoning model will be available in the UK?
Well, it's available on mine within Copilot Studio, which is the agents part. It's in preview at the moment, so it should be, if you have got Copilot right now, that's within your Copilot Studio.
Okay. Simon, again, if that needs further clarification, get in contact with your account manager and I'm sure they can help. And Alex has asked, will Copilot work with FileMaker?
I'm assuming that's a third party. Copilot does work with third party applications as long as they've created a connector for Copilot to integrate. So it's probably worth going on to their website. There's usually like a forum to say, we integrate with Copilot now. Otherwise, reach out to your account manager and we can figure out if it's in the pipeline too.
Okay. And one, Geraldine has asked, does Copilot work with database?
Database or Dataverse? Database.
Database.
I'm not quite sure.
Geraldine, maybe we could have a clarification on that, please. Maybe we'll sort that out after this session. So we're pretty much out of time now. So again, thank you everybody for attending. And yes, if you have any further questions or clarifications, get in contact with your account managers and we'll all be happy to help. So thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Have a nice day.
Bye.